I'm going to do this video showing you exactly how I use very simple, easy tools, quick tools that you can put together to manage small projects that are not very complex. They can even be tasks within a project, or units within a very large program. This isn't really what you would use to manage a program or a large, complex, major project. This is more the tools that I use to be able to get my team on the same page. These are my tried and go-to tools. So let me walk you through them. All right, Excel or Google Sheets. It's, maybe it's an engineering thing. Maybe it's my engineering brain that just loves it so much. And I would never move away from Excel or Google Sheets. They essentially can do the exact same things. Excel, of course, it's much more powerful. You can add macros to have things be more efficient. But at the end of the day, Google Sheets does just as good of a job. I'm going to record this video on Excel though, but anything I do here, you can very, very likely do on Google Sheets. So first thing, to stay on track, I always have a schedule of tasks. So, the team has an overall schedule of your project, but that's your project schedule, right? Your high level project schedule that everyone should have access to understand what are the objectives of the project as a whole. But that project schedule does not help your team get to a certain goal of your own. So if you're a specific discipline and you need to get something out and because you're in the critical path for other disciplines to complete their tasks, you need to lay that out for them in a way that makes sense and in a way that has a schedule for them. So that's if you have to do it chronologically. In programs, potentially you have a lot of things happening at the same time, and really you need to create a schedule because you need to understand the priorities so that you're able to manage your resources effectively so that everyone knows where they should be putting their time first, putting their time second, what is the least priority, and how they can all juggle all of these tasks to get completed. It's not a chronological event because it's not a project. It's more of a program as a whole to keep a program going. It's steady state activities, but that would still need to adhere to a certain timeline. So if you have a team, you need to be able to manage those resources. What does that mean? Be able to know how long is something going to take, how many engineers, how many designers are you going to need for that certain task? How long is that going to take before they can get to the next task? Do you need to bring in additional engineers for the next task because the timelines and the resources aren't going to work out? And so all of that needs to be managed on a schedule. So there are two tools that I use: a schedule and a tracker. The tracker is obviously tracks all the items that we need to do or that need to be completed. It tracks it by the description of the task, a title to the task, when was this task requested, when is it due, who's in responsible charge of it, and then the status of it. Is it in progress? Is it completed? Is it delayed? Is it on hold? And then usually I have notes explaining why something's on hold. And that's the simplest way of doing a tracker. I have a much bigger tracker for the program that I'm on, and that one includes things like the manual and the sections of the manual that the certain task is involved with and things like that. And so it's a monster of a tracker. I'm just going to show you the most simplest one, the one, my tried and true, the one that I've created hundreds of times for myself, not just in project management, but also actually in my everyday life. So let's get started. So let me show you how I put together my tracker. First thing, I'm going to do it in the middle here. The title, description, in responsible charge, initial date, as in when you received that request or when you started that specific task, and then completion date, or actually let's call it due date, depending. I think due date makes more sense in this one. Status, and then notes. Usually I like at the top, I put the project name. Then I like to put the current date. So essentially, when was the last time that you updated your tracker? And then if it's a certain team, so if it's the, I don't know, pick a team, let's call it the civil engineering team, just because I'm an engineer, so that's everything that's on my mind. So that it's clear that it's just a tracker for your team, your specific team. It could just be like segment 5 team, you know. It's not a tracker for the project, it's for your specific team. And it could be a tracker for the project if that's what you want it to be. Then I literally just make it into a table. My goal is to become one of those senior engineers that doesn't know how to use PDFs and has to ask the junior engineers to do basic printing. All right, so I usually just like to make this all bordered. I don't like non-borders. And that's it. So that's it. That's all I do for my tracker. And so every Monday when I have my team meetings, we go in here, we'll have number 1, we'll put in the title, a very general title, so we know, it's a very summarized title. Field visit itinerary, and then complete and the field visit itinerary for field site A, and create estimate for approval by client. The description is always much longer than everything else. Then let's say Bob is in charge of doing this. Bob Smith. I don't know Bob Smith. Initial date, let's say 10/18/2023. And it has to be out by the end of the week, so 10/20/2023. And the current status is in progress. And the notes are usually just something quick that you want to remember, or why it's on hold, or why it's pending still, and or potentially the progress. I've sent this was submitted to client pending approval. Something like that to give you an idea of where the action is on. And usually the notes get updated. So I like to put this was added on 10/18, right? And then if something else happens, then I'll put the date and the note of when that was. I usually like to make these pretty big. Current date. Can I do? That was dumb of me. I shouldn't have done that. I usually do it like this, and then this one. I like to keep it separate so that you can just put today, and so it updates the date for you automatically every time you open the spreadsheet and update it. That's it. That's your tracker. I'm gonna rename it tracker. So when I have teams that I'm leading, or tasks that I'm leading, for example, right now I'm a unit lead, so under me there's about 4 smaller units, each with a lead that I check in with, and I make sure that everything is working according to plan. Each of those units have their own tracker and schedule, so that when I join the coordination meetings, they're going through it, I'm looking at the schedules, ensuring that everybody's on task. based on these. And anytime you need to know what's going on, you can literally come in here and look at those trackers and the schedules. So for a schedule, I like to just use the template on the Excel. I updated a little bit to fit my needs, but I literally just click template, open templates, schedule, and there's that template. And then, yeah, so I like to use the simple Gantt chart template that they have. And I hit create, and it makes it for me, which is awesome. I love it so much. I love the colors. I love that you can update this, and it automatically updates the dates over here. So I usually delete this stuff though. And I make it way more simple because sometimes it's unnecessary. So let's not call it Europa. Let's call it X project. And you don't need that. I usually have the lead, whoever's taking care of this. So Bob Smith. So over here, if you say display week 3, it'll change it to the week 3 of depending on when you started your project. So let's go back to 1. And so down here, you don't need any of this. I mean, it's great to look at what a project, I mean, in general, this is how a project would be managed. You have your initiation, your planning and your design, your execution, and then your evaluation, making sure you monitor everything and it's in progress. I don't like to use it because obviously it doesn't make sense for what I'm doing. I just like to put in the task. And if there's multiple steps to that task, then I'll show the steps down there because there aren't multiple steps. So, I'll only show one of them. But let's pretend that the itinerary requires a schedule. And so you would say, create, actually, let's call this field visit itinerary. So you would say coordinate with safety manager and site manager to tour the field, the construction field. Extend that, wrap it, and then you would put create itinerary, create a visit estimate, and submit to client for approval. Maybe learn how to spell. And that's it. You would add all of them. Usually I delete this guy and then just make sure it doesn't break here. These are all referencing up here. So let me walk you through what that looks like. So this is assigned to just one person, Bob Smith. And he needs to make sure that all of these steps happen. This is probably not a task that I would do subtasks for. I might just have the submit to client for approval because that is critical. And so I would want to make sure that it's in the timeline for when that needs to happen. But this is such a simple task that I trust my team would be able to complete it without a schedule. But there's other things that are a little bit more complex and the team just needs a little more direction on what are the steps that need to happen and when do they need to happen. For example, here, you would say this would be a day of talking to of coordination. Once you get that meeting set up, create the itinerary, maybe it takes you 2 days. Creating an estimate, maybe it takes you another day. And I know that we want to submit it to the client and get their approval. So you submit it as soon as you're done and you want to get their approval within a couple days. And so this is super simple. The most important one is probably this project start because it needs to reference the date up here. And then everything else is just set up by equaling that project start plus how many days it's going to take. This one is going to equal whenever that previous task ended for your start date. And then the end date will be, again, your start date plus how long it's going to take. And so it references each other until the end. So you can see it's going to take about a week to complete a field itinerary, get it approved, and have it fully done. And then you can do, okay, so I talked to, let's say that one's fully complete. You are done with the itinerary. You're 50% done with the estimate. And as soon as you get that estimate done, then you'll be able to submit it to the client and update the progress on that. I like this little progress tab. I think it's a really good idea. And so the thing that you have to be careful here is if you are managing kind of a chronological project, you have to be careful about when dates are referencing what dates. So for example, this next task in this template is referencing the previous end. So after this task is done, then we can start this task, right? So that's the date that it's starting. And then you add the times that you need to complete this task. But you can customize this as you need it. Maybe you need this guy to start at the exact same time as the first one. Maybe they're completely independent of each other. Then you don't need to add a reference here. You would just add your date, right? So 11, 12, 23, because it's completely independent of the other one. So it doesn't need to reference anything. So you just need to be aware of how your start and end date are referencing each other so you can, make it work for yourself. And that's it. These two tools I use every single day. And it's really cool because the team comes back in here and it's like, oh, Vivian was supposed to do that and she was supposed to complete it on the 22nd. Now I have to come in and make sure that I talk to Vivian and make sure that I get done so I can get my portion done. Or, when my boss is asking me, hey, what's the status of that task that your unit was supposed to complete? I can easily come in here and be like, we started it on the 22nd. We're going to get it done on, the 30th or whatever it is and know exactly what's going on. It also really helps the team when they're a little disorganized. I've run into teams that are amazing at what they do. They're these incredible experts, but they are not good at staying coordinated with their team. And we end up having these silos among the team members because nobody's talking to each other. So I usually force the team to have a coordination meeting and I force the team to have a tracker and a scheduling system. Honestly, sometimes we veer away from this, but that's because the team already has this really good synchronized way of working. These two tools are my way of getting them there. And we continue using them, obviously, until the end of whatever task. But it's just such a great tool to get the team on the same page and get us working in a good rhythm and keep me honest because there's so much going on. If I didn't have a tracker or a schedule to keep me honest, to keep me getting something out there when it's supposed to be, I don't know that it would. I've gotten to that point where there's too much going on and I can't keep everything in my brain. Also, I'm older now. I just literally can't keep anything in my brain. I need somewhere to put it. And I just highly, highly recommend using very simple tools. Don't overcomplicate your life. You don't need to learn how to use these very, very complicated project management tools, at least not with small projects. Sometimes you use tools on smaller projects that you're essentially spending more time updating those tools rather than getting the project done. So it always comes down to practicality and being reasonable. All right, that's it. I just wanted to show you guys simple tools that you can use every day to help you stay organized and on track and help you increase those project management skills little by little. I hope you guys enjoyed it and I'll see you on the next one. Bye everyone.